welcome back to my channel. Today is exciting. Today is going to be my third new adult recommendation video. I am so excited about it. I am completely winging this because I just right now decided to film this. Obviously you can tell by the lack of makeup, but we're just not gonna wear makeup in this video because I rarely wear makeup. And I think it's kind of stupid of me to just waste my makeup and put it on now for a video when I'm sitting alone in my house, and you guys know that. It's just unnecessary, especially we're talking about books today. This is my face with nothing on it. So this is probably going to be a short video because I've read maybe 100 books in the year so far, and I've only read a very few that have like really touched me and I've loved. The first book is going to be the Thoughtless Series, or the first series is going to be the Thoughtless Series. I know that these books have been out for a while. Almost every review I read, every description of this book I read, it literally says if you loved Beautiful Disaster, you'll love these books. I talked about it, I think, in my first new adult video or in my second new adult video. Beautiful Disaster and Walking Disaster were the very first or second book that I read. I wasn't reading in school, that I wasn't assigned to read over the summer. It was the first book. No, the first book was The Fault in Our Stars because everyone on Tumblr loved that book. So that was just me jumping on the bandwagon, and I did love Fault in Our Stars when I read it. I read it like 3 years before the movie came out. So when the movie did come out, I thought it was so cool because, you know, I read this years ago. Other than The Fault in Our Stars, the very first book that I ever picked up by myself on my own, I was in Connecticut. My mom took my phone away because I was a bad kid, and there was a Barnes and Nobles in our hotel, like attached to or next to or like right on top of our hotel. So we went together and I just saw it and I was like, get it, like I like the description on the back, like whatever. And I just read Fault in Our Stars and I was like, I'm a reader now. So I picked that book up, I read it. Lord, did I fall in love with Beautiful Disaster, as we all did when we read that first book. Then I read Walking Disaster, and y'all, I was obsessed. But we're not talking about the Beautiful and Walking Disaster or the Maddox Brothers series. So when I saw that that book said, if you love Beautiful Disaster, you'll love the Thoughtless series, and I did. And I understand why people compare them, because I don't want to say that they're similar because their stories are completely different. The premise is essentially the same, and it is kind of new adult typical, and I've talked about new adult typical, or what I call new adult typical, when the bad boy falls in love with a good girl and it's insta-lovey and they have an immediate connection upon first glance. And I love / hate insta-love. I love it because it's so romantic and we all want to believe that we're gonna walk into a bookstore one day and the love of our life is gonna just lock eyes with us and we're gonna fall madly deeply in love and we're gonna live happily ever after. That never happens, and if it happened for you, congratulations, man, because that is rare to find. That actually happened to me. Oh, if you watched my fiance tag video, you'll know that I literally saw Vinny and fell in love with him. I'll tell you guys a little bit about it. So Kellen Carter, which literally reading that book made me want to name my next son Kellen Carter. I love that name. Kellen Carter is a like kind of indie rock star. I read this a while ago, so I don't remember all the details. He has this band with his really good friends who is like his only family. He has a best friend from years and years ago through a foreign exchange program named Denny. And Denny goes to move with Kellen and he's bringing his girlfriend with him. His girlfriend's name is Kira. So that's the first book. Read the first book. I don't want to say anything about the second or third book, but that's essentially how the book starts, and that's where the story starts of Kira and Kellen. I love that. Kellen and Kira, Kira and Kellen. I just love the way that sounds. So that is the first book that we are recommending today. Bad Idea. Guys, this book. Here's my dilemma. I have a Nook. I don't have a Kindle, so I found this book and it was for free. I'll read a free book, why not? I fell in love with this freaking book. It takes place in my city. I felt so connected to this book, and it's not a happily ever after tale. I don't like happy ending stories. I like tragic, sad endings because it makes me think about it longer. It makes me wonder, like, why couldn't they work out? What was wrong with them? Why did that have to happen that way? Lost Soul series. And I found that in this book, and for me that is so rare to find a book that I'm like thinking about constantly. When I found the first book, I fell head over heels in love with it. I couldn't stop reading it. And then I went to buy the second book and I couldn't find it anywhere. But I found the author's Instagram. I know that there's a second and there's a third book in this series, and I was looking for it everywhere, especially how the first book ends. The epilogue is a cliffhanger and I needed to read it. I needed to know. And she doesn't sell it on the Nook. I don't have Amazon and I don't want to pay $15 for the paperback and have to wait for it in the mail. Like, I want to read it months ago, you know? So I'm gonna end up buying $40 worth of paperbacks and ordering it, paying shipping for it, waiting for it to come in just to read these two books. Basically, the book is about Leila and Nico, and it's so interesting because I've never read a cultural book. What I mean by that is race, where you're from, plays a huge part in this book. This is people from New York, people who don't have a lot, people who are lower than middle class, and I never thought of these things, and this is why I like this book so much, is I never thought of like the class system. I never thought of race. Like, when I read, I just read to read. But in this book, race is a big thing, where you're from is a big thing. Our main character, Leila, is Brazilian, and she loves that she's Brazilian. She thinks it makes her unique, and it does, but her parents do not like that she's Brazilian. Then our guy Nico, he basically pays for his whole family to live, and they live in like a really bad part of New York, and our main character Leila, she goes to NYU. Basically what I love about this book is I never paid attention to race and culture and setting and all these other things until I started this book, and now it's something that I look for in books because now I'm interested, because I know I'm half black. And did it affect how I grew up? 100%. I love that I'm half black. I love that I have two different sides of history in me, and like I never cared about that kind of stuff in books. I never cared about that stuff in books, and now that's the main reason why these books like stuck with me. But they're very aware of where they're from, and I love that. And it's just a great love story. I love the love story part of it too, like, don't get me wrong. So it's a fantastic love story, but it's an even more fantastic story of like loving where you come from, loving who you are, not being ashamed of who you are. That's a huge part of this book, is not being ashamed of your upbringing, your neighborhood, all the things that make you yourself that you don't even realize are making you who you are. I recommend the whole series, even though I didn't read it yet. I'm dying to read it, so hopefully we'll get to that. The next book I want to talk about, again, this happens a lot. I don't know if this book is a series. I read it as a standalone. So it's about this girl. Her name's Bree, is a bartender at this really cool club that I would love to work at, honestly. They have cool themed parties and stuff. Like, that sounds awesome. Bree meets Luke, and Luke is a boxer, like an underground boxer, very Travis Maddox, like, no, I remember thinking this, like, this is exactly what Travis Maddox does. I know a lot of people read Beautiful Disaster, which is why I keep referring to it. So if you know what Travis Maddox does, that's basically what this guy does. So it's basically the story of them, and it's very like not relatable, but I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun reading it. It's very like gangsters. It's called Wild Ones. The way that they meet is kind of crazy. So that is how the story starts, and I really enjoyed it. I really had fun reading that book. I highly recommend that one. All Your Perfects. So if you guys watched my very first new adult recommendation video, I mentioned Colleen Hoover just as an author. She was the very first thing I ever recommended to anyone. Since that video, she has written 2 books, I think. I recommended It Ends With Us in my last video, and then in this video I am recommending All Your Perfects. If you're an OG Colleen Hoover fan and you read all of her books, you will see the Easter egg in the epilogue of this book. This book is very sad. I'll let you guys know my updated list of the Colleen Hoover like sad scale and where this will land on the sad scale. I don't even want to tell you the topic because if you're, again, an OG Colleen Hoover fan, you know every book has the topic, the uncomfortable topic, a conversation that really needs to be had more often and not be such a like weird topic to talk about. Something I really respect that she talked about in a book, because not a lot of people use this as their main character's like flaw, basically. But wow, Colleen Hoover, this book gets a 5-star from me, man. This was incredible. But yeah, definitely recommend All Your Perfects by the queen of new adult, Colleen Hoover. The next book that I'm going to recommend you guys is called Impossible Love, and I'm recommending this one because it kind of has a backstory for me. We had someone in our town, city, whatever, who committed suicide because of topics in this book. It ruins her reputation, her friendships, everything. It takes place a year after this happens. She basically has to learn to forgive herself and love herself again and allow love in. It is a love story. I definitely recommend this book, especially for young people. I'm going to recommend a very adult book right now. There's no way that this is new adult. This is an adult book, guys. What intrigued me to this book in the first place, please don't think that I'm into this kind of stuff. It's very fun to read, don't get me wrong. Years and years and years ago, I read the Skin Deep series, and the second book in that series is a 3-way relationship. This book that I'm recommending right now it's called Double or Nothing, and it is a 3-way relationship. It doesn't start off that way. I'm not gonna spoil it. This is honestly just if you're into that kind of thing. Again, very adult, if you know what I mean. Very heavy on the sex part of it. I think it's a series. Highly recommend that. Super fun, super interesting, and just hot. It's a hot book. I'm just gonna say it. It is hot, and yeah, that's all we're gonna say about it. This is gonna be the last book that I talk about. I have so many more books that I really want to bring up. I'll have an honorable mention section right at the end. So the last book I want to talk to you guys about is called Lie to Me, and it takes place, I'm sure they were from like New Zealand or Britain or England or something like that, but they definitely weren't from America. But they use words like mum. They don't say mom, but it was so cool to like read in like kind of a different language, because they have like different words for different things. So it's like really cool to see how other countries say things. Like they speak English. It's about a guy named Kent, his name is, and he has trust issues. And then the girl's name, Savannah. I love that name. So it's about Kent, who has trust issues, and Savannah, who is mentally going through it. She had a trauma happen to her and within her family. She moved away from them and works for, I think the lady is a fashion designer, but I really had fun reading these books. That is it for my book recommendations. I'm going to mention some honorable mentions, books that I enjoyed but weren't necessarily my favorite. Some honorable mentions are going to be Bad Billionaire by Julie Chris, Going Down Hard by Jordan Murray, Boys South of the Mason-Dixon, Wait for You by Jennifer L. Armentrout, Beyond These Walls and Within These Walls, J.L. Berg, My Best Friend's Girl by Patricia Ryan, My Paper Heart by Megan Veron, For Finlay by Jay Nathan, and You Make Me by Erin McCarthy. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had so much fun making this video. I love talking books. Seriously, it just makes my heart so happy. If you guys like book talking, if you like book reviews, if you're part of the booktube community, make sure you subscribe. I plan to make more of these kind of videos soon. If none of these books in this video interest you, I have 2 more new adult recommendation videos, so I'll leave those down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.